Good. How are you doing? Enjoying the conference? Who is maybe hungry? I'm sorry. It will take time. All right, so please welcome. Also, hello and greetings to the people online and ladies and gentlemen in the hall over there. So we will be talking about the web speed, and I started with the note that I didn't pick this first slide as a coincidence. So in fact, I really love this car. What does it have to do with the web speed? It's a compact car. It's a Renault Clio RS Trophy, but it's so light. It has 220 horsepower, which is not much compared to big brothers like BMW M or Mercedes AMG, but put that power in a little compact body, and you have this feeling of race even in the slow speed on public roads. So this actually perfectly applies to the web as well, because the speed is not just an absolute number. The speed is your experience about it. So how fast could we possibly go? The speed of light, I guess. Anyone remembers how fast is that? Speed of light? Engineers, come on. All right, counts. Well, we cannot go that fast on the highway, but the photons in the optical fiber already go that fast. So we are hitting this speed already on the internet. However, we often forget that there is another device on the client side that introduces a slight delay to the processing. What do you think it could be? Or maybe the laptop, or Internet Explorer, or maybe it's our brain. So in fact, there was a research recently by MIT in 2014 that says that our brain needs just 14 milliseconds in order to parse the image, so to see what's there. However, it needs another 140 milliseconds in order to decide where to focus. What does it mean for us? Well, for us, it means that we have roughly 200 milliseconds to present the user interface to the user, and for the user, it will still appear instant. So this was kind of a good goal, 200 milliseconds, but it's not very realistic. So the realistic goal is something that Akamai did recently. They made a research, I think like 4 years ago. They say that half of your web users will leave after 3 seconds waiting on the website. Well, this is pessimistic. Let's turn it optimistic. Half of your users will wait for 3 seconds on your website. I like this much more. So, of course, I know there are also articles by Amazon, by Walmart about cutting down on 100 milliseconds from the website load time and getting like millions in the revenue boosts. But we're not Amazon and even not a Walmart, I think. So if your business plan is to cut 100 ms and get a billionaire, that might be disappointing for you today on this talk. But 3 milliseconds is a very realistic goal. However, if you think that we already have it, I have this wonderful graphics from NASA. So if this over here is our world, then this is obviously the world where the websites are loading under 3 milliseconds. And by that I mean we are hell far away from that. A nasty example. So it's mean, but it's still real these days. So imagine you are booking a vacation of your dream. You thought of it a lot, you decided on everything, now it's finally time to buy. You think you're 1 click away from your vacation. However, the game begins. You click pay. And the spinner starts spinning. Okay, yeah, that's normal. What next? A few seconds, and ouch, we got redirected to some weird blank page on a weird domain. You start to get nervous because it was like not the cheapest ticket, I guess. And then, okay, we are processing your payment, great. With the smallest font possible, obviously, they always do like this, but you're still happy because it does work, it does work. It did work. Now you're waiting again. Should you hit the reload? Or should you not? Maybe you'll be charged twice. Let's hit it, yeah, let's do it. Oh, do not close this tab or hit the reload. Oh, sorry, my bad. And then after a few seconds at the end, you are redirected to the home page saying, hey, welcome to our shop. Did it work? Did it fail? Did they get charged twice? You have no freaking idea about this. So the only way you can find out what happened is to check your mail and hope that they did send you something. So this is, of course, a bit exaggerated, right? But anyone experienced this here? Yes. So this is true even now, even in 2018. And for me, it feels actually offensive. Like every redirect like that is like a slap to your user, like, hey, I'm dominating, you know. So let's not do it. And sometimes I think like whose fault it is that we still have it. And now this is a big question, whose fault it is? Because I think it's ours. I mean, nobody in this room probably developed something like that. Of course, it's not us. It's some other weird previous generation developers. But hey, we are the current generation developers. So it's our responsibility to fix it and not to slap our users online. But what if I say that even though this is embarrassing, of course, we can fix it. And there are easy steps of fixing it that I will be showing to you today without much technical details. So, the speed, again, is an experience. It's not an absolute value. However, the speed has also the absolute part in it. So the speed experience is 50% your feeling of speed and 50% the actual speed. It's a combination, and in order to make good user experience, we need to work on both. Let's start with improving the actual speed. And this is kind of a boring part because we first know most of it. However, there are little tricks that are kind of no-brainer tricks. They are so easy to introduce that having everything that I will show you right now is super easy, and it will certainly get you below 3 seconds. So let's start. Some really, really simple optimizations. So first, a compression, obviously, JZip. I hope everyone has it. However, if someone doesn't, do you know how hard it is to introduce JZip to your website? It's this line, JZip on, in the Nginx config, done. You're like cutting 80% of HTML, CSS, and JS right away for that. And if you are not sure if you have it or not, just go to checkjzipcompression.com, and it will say if you're enabling it or not. Then the next, caching. Also, everyone knows caching, but for some reason, not even a half of the website has the right caching configured. So the caching, the right caching header will cut your load time for some resources to 0, basically, on a subsequent visit. So it's a no-brainer. Then, according to the statistics, images are eating up most of the web traffic, actually, so it makes sense to optimize them. So what we have to do is to just scale down our images to the size that is actually displayed on the screen, use CRC set or the media queries in order to deliver only the right image to your user, and also do not forget to strip out the tags, especially if you get the picture from the photo stock. They pack like dozens of tags in it, which you do not need. So you'll have the PDF, I guess, so you can just take these commands and drop it in your build pipeline, gulp, or whatever, and it just works, easy. Then the next thing, so when the browser is reading your HTML and finds a script tag, we know that it's blocking. And we used to put the script tag in the bottom of the page in order to first show the page and only then block unloading the JavaScript. So now there is a much easier way to do it, is just put in the async word over here. Just one word, one attribute, async, and it cuts basically your page load by the time it would take for you to load this libs.js. Also a no-brainer. Next, jumping on the preload. The preload is a way for us to tell the browser that there are resources that we are not referencing right now, but we will be referencing it in the future, like a font, for instance. The fonts are specified in the CSS, and the CSS is not loaded at the beginning. So we can say to the browser right away, load this, cache it, we will need it later on, so that you save time of your user of waiting for this resource later on. Now, my favorite one, the pre-render. Who knows the pre-render? Good, so it's kind of a nuclear option. Like if you are desperate, like, yeah, I want a slow website to load fast, you say pre-render. What it does, it basically tells the browser to load, parse, and render the whole page that you specify here, but just not display it. So it's kind of like a hidden tab in your browser. Does not matter how long it would actually take. So people usually use it in the sales funnels. So like you say that user will most likely click here, so browser, could you please prefetch and render this page? And when the user clicks, it's just boom, right away there, no loading at all. So this is cheating maybe, but it works. Not in all browsers, so check the browser compatibility before relying on this. Now, all of these tricks will obviously also work on the mobile devices. However, do not underestimate the effort of the mobile optimizations, because according to the ComStore statistics, the mobile adaptation already surpassed that of the desktop devices you see in 2014. So now we have actually more users surfing from mobiles than from the desktops. And of course, the LTE is getting more and more available. However, don't get too optimistic about it. This is the LTE availability report. You obviously cannot see it. However, I'll help you. So we have Latvia over there, which is pretty good actually. It's quite on top, and it's like 75% of LTE availability. And Germany somewhere below the Cambodia. I live in Munich, I can prove it. Too bad. So it's, I think the number was about 50% of the LTE availability, and that is not the geographical 50%, no way. It is kind of 50% of time that you do not have LTE on your mobile device, even if you live in Munich. So hope for LTE, but optimize for 3G. And an important thing to do here is to deliver the content conditionally. So please do not do the optimization, like send everything to the mobile client and then just hide big things. Like, oh, this doesn't fit, hide. The image is too big, compress. Don't do it. Use SRC set, use media queries, and send only the thing that the user will actually see on the screen. It's a bit more effort, I know, but it pays off at the end. And please have some respect for Germans who will be surfing your website from the 3G. So if you need more tricks, it makes no sense if I will just show it here. I just show you the easiest ones. But I reference this awesome talk where it gets really into the hardcore. So you can just check it out. But the question is, are you sure you need it? Because by applying those, you will be already below 3 seconds. And if you still have doubt, I want to make a little provocation here. I'll just open the browser. Oh, thanks. Okay, so I will open FrontCon.lv and now experience it. That was fast, wasn't it? Again. That was also decent. Good. Now, this is our friendly event in Munich with a very similar name. Was this fast? Also decent, I guess. Again. All right. just wait. So, what was faster? Who is for Riga? Who is for Munich? In fact, it took 1 second longer for Munich website to load. I knew you will be wrong, because there was just less content above the cut over here. So it feels like it's faster, but it's 1 second slower. And 1 second, if you apply the Amazon reports to that, it's like, oh, we lost all of the revenue, shit, 1 second more. So the speed is so much subjective. Like if most of you did this mistake, it does not matter. Now, let's all agree that we covered the actual speed improvements and now go into more fun part, the speed perception. So the perception of speed is based on a paradox. The psychologists have found out that we can very accurately judge the time intervals. Let's say someone says to us, I'll be in 1 minute, and we perfectly know how long is 1 minute. We can measure it very accurately. However, our emotions significantly impact our perception of time. So if we are stressed, if we are annoyed, 1 minute can last forever. But if we are happy or we are entertained somehow, 1 minute can go into 5 or even more without us even noticing it. So time perception is subjective, and we all know these little temporal illusions that we have from time to time, which are just basically a distortion in our perception of how fast things happen around us. Time can slow down, time can speed up, and we just want to take advantage of it. One of the paradoxes you of course know is the holiday paradox, like that on the vacation time goes fast. You think like, hey, it's just a day and it's over, and then when you come home you think, no, it was quite a good vacation, I did a lot back then. Then there is also the age paradox, and this is all research, so it's copied from the articles, so it's a real thing, and check out the Wikipedia, they also have a lot there. So the age paradox is kind of depressing because it says that if you are 80, 1 year will go 8 times faster as if you're 5. So what is the benefit for us from it? No need to optimize for old people. Kidding. All right, so for real, how can we use it? We maximize the speed perception on our website, and we obviously will get more conversions out of it because it's an experience that gets better. So there are a number of tactics that the designer can use in order to create the illusion of our website loading faster. And these include the colors, these include the progress indicators, and also even where you put the call for action, like if the user has to scroll for it or not. This can also influence the perception of the speed of the website. So let's start with the classic, the spinner. So here is the trick. The spinner does not make your website look faster. The goal, the purpose of the spinner is to say that something is happening so that the user just waits and isn't getting nervous. However, although not using a spinner might seem counterintuitive, because at the end our purpose is to inform the user what's happening, it is also reminding the user that the user is waiting. So every time you show the spinner, you say to the user, wait, wait, wait. And you maybe not have to remind the user that it takes time. Maybe you could just show some animation instead, and the user might not even notice it. But if you're showing the spinner, the user will notice it. So a much better option is a skeleton screen here. We've all seen it on LinkedIn, on Facebook. It's kind of nothing new in it. However, here, what we are using is this psychological effect that I mentioned at the beginning, that we see the thing, we parse this in 13 milliseconds. However, we need 200 milliseconds to focus on something. And here we already show the blocks of content, so the user can start focusing already. So we are doing like kind of a friendly step, so that the user is not just wasting his or her time on it. However, you need to do it right, because if you show one skeleton screen and then totally different content, it's like so confusing. So if you do it right. And here I have copied an image that just shows a comparison of spinner approach and skeleton screen approach. And if you also combine it with streaming the content, then you see that like the difference is so obvious. Although if you look up in the debugger later on, both options take the same time to load. So next, we also have the emotional paradox, is that time slows down when you're scared. What does it mean for us? No, we shouldn't scare the user. In fact, we should do the opposite. It means that in that situation that I described to you at the beginning, we were scared that our payment failed or that it charged us twice. So even though it took long, we felt it even longer because of our emotions. So also think of this and try to make the user experience as much relaxed and easy as possible. Then, the input paradox. The audio information appears to last much longer than the visual information. And that's not just about audio, it's about any kind of a monotonous text input. So if you are just writing text, if you're having text on the website, it feels slower than if you are showing some moving parts. It's just the way how our eyes and the brains work. So, can we do this better? The example from the beginning. By introducing something simple, like a simple animation, for instance. We can already start with something like this, and it would already somehow distract the user from a nasty process. So this animation was 10 seconds, and I'm quite sure that it went for you much faster than it was at the beginning of the talk, when we waited just 3 seconds on this step. So you can just hide all of the nasty things somewhere in the iframe. Do not show this redirects and reloads. Show something relaxing, and the user will just not notice how the time goes. But let's think of something even better. Maybe there are any suggestions from your side. Join the discussion. What would you show? What could be relevant for the user getting a trip booked? Cats. That's like a no-brainer. Cats are always relevant. Like cats, unicorns, puppies, jumping all around. Yes. Exactly. So actually many websites are already doing it, but they are doing it mean. They just want to rip you off and sell you overpriced hotels and overpriced cars. But if you are friendly to a user, just show a real thing. Just go to the, use the API of the Wikitravel, for instance. Grab like the top sites from the TripAdvisor and show it when the payment is being processed. As easy, and the user will read, and you can then make him wait for like 30 seconds without complaining. So just my little try over here could be if we add even more animation with text, something like this. Does it work? What do you think? It does. Great. So, in fact, we are almost done and one step to lunch. I think that it would be great to end this talk with a quote. Credit to Denis Mishunov for finding it first. It's something that is extracted from the Apple developers website. They say that the perception of performance is just as effective as the actual performance in many cases. And you know that Apple is like the recognized leader in design of the user interfaces. So you can also read they have many other things saying like similar to what we discussed today about your perception of speed. But just remember, it makes no sense to waste all of your time in cutting 100 milliseconds here and there if the user experience is a shit. So please use the tricks, and I wish you all happy users. Thank you.
So I didn't see any questions in Twitter or Slack, or a bird didn't fly to me. So any questions?
Great talk. What do you think about artificial delays? For example, if it's an internal bank money transfer. So I've heard that people can be paranoid when it's instantaneous.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, to be honest, I did not think of it. But right now, yeah, so there are things that we are used to. It's another example from a totally different area is that when we talk on the phone, there is a thing called comfortable noise. So when we just hear nothing on our phone, when I'm talking to you and you're not saying anything, the software will just play something like shh. So that I know that you're still online, even though this noise is totally artificial. So this it seems stupid to do it, but it makes you feel comfortable. So I guess everything that makes the user feel comfortable makes total sense. So because at the end we want to optimize for the users and not for us. So even though this is an example like from totally different area, this is another thing when we are introducing something that makes little sense just for the sake of the user comfort. So I think that in banking, I actually have a different experience. I actually don't like that banks transfer money for days. I have totally no technical understanding of why would a transaction in a database take 1 day. But I guess if you mean a few seconds, then we can live with it, and it's probably a good idea if it makes the user more comfortable.
Any more questions?
They're hungry.
Wait, but I'm going to make them wait some more. So let's do the voting thing again. Yay! So there are like 70 people voted right now. We want to get to at least 100 people. So take out your phones and vote for Anton's presentation.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No, we're going to make. Then you're going to sit down and clap.
Okay. Of course.
You showed this hack when using link preload, yes? Or prefetch, something like that?
Oh, what?
This hack to preload the page,
yes,
like
yes.
a desperate way to fast things up. Does it really like open the page? It calls scripts, it calls Google Analytics as a visit and all this stuff?
That's the reason why the browser support is quite poor at the moment. I think it's just Mozilla, if I'm correct, doing it right now. And the reason is exactly that you will screw up your tracking pixels. Like you will hit everything and you will execute everything. But what they say is that it's your responsibility because at the end it's you who puts this preload tag. I cannot tell you, but that would make the perfect sense to me. So I think that they want you to take care of this problem. They will just trigger the URL and do everything like a normal page. And of course, you can only check if it's a real hit or not from the header, but it will still probably cost you more because like in Google Analytics, how would you filter or in Facebook Pixel? If you just track things using the 1 pixel images, then you have no access to manipulating the headers anyway on the recipient side. So I understand that this is kind of controversial. That's why it's a desperate option, a nuclear option, so I would try to avoid it. But if it's your website and you have full control of it, you probably can still take advantage of it somehow.